Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Menopause and weight loss, and what do we need to be doing in terms of exercise is the topic today. Fitness and aging specialist Andrew Blakey is joining me. Hello, hi.
Hello, good morning. How are we?
So what's happening when we're in menopause is, one, chances are if we're here to focus on weight loss, we probably have a history of doing some pretty shitty diets where we starved ourselves, deprived ourselves, and we experienced more weight loss, which was sure some fat, but a lot of muscle mass as well, as opposed to fat loss, because we probably weren't focused on losing weight in a healthy way, just eating less, exercising more, counting calories, getting our 1200 calories in Triscuits or fish crackers rather than getting the proteins and fats and the proper carbs that we need. So there are history of dieting. And then we add in that aging piece where we probably have been more inactive than we have been active as we get older. And then there is that sort of slight decline in muscle mass. And then you add what's happening in menopause. And it's not that it's weight gain. I think it's like change in body composition. I think which is the real issue. And so exercise becomes really important, one, for stress, so we don't have heart attacks. So cardiovascular health is really important. Two, that muscle mass, to make sure that we aren't gaining all that weight in our midsection. And three, our bone health attached to that loss in muscle mass as well. So it's really important, not just as we age, not just because of past diets, but because of, us going through these stages of menopause. And so exercise, obviously, we keep hearing is really important, but what is important? Is it the lifting weights? What's the best way to do that? Is it the cardio piece? Is it the flexibility piece?
I think that when it comes to aging, I think there's really three different components that we really need to touch on. One, obviously, there's the cardiovascular component because, if you don't have the heart health and the lung health, which is typically what we talk about when we talk about cardiovascular, as well as, all of our arteries and circulation system and all that. But that's besides the point. Having a strong cardiovascular system is going to be what allows you to go out for when you're traveling and go out hiking and doing all of those things. So I think that some people look at cardio as cardio or strength training. Which one do I need to do? But I think that it's much more, it's not just one thing. It's about what sorts of habits can you implement in your life to touch on all these different aspects of your health, because it's not just, oh, I just want a strong heart, or, oh, I just want strong muscles, or, oh, I just want to be able to move and reach for things. All of these play their own role in a high quality of life down the road, right? And I mean, I think there's a really great point that I always like to talk about, which is health span versus lifespan, and that's a point that Dr. Peter Attia in his book Outlive, he talks a lot about that, and that was the first time I was kind of exposed to that concept. And what that is there's lifespan, which is essentially how old before you pass. And then there's health span, which is how many of those years are you actually spending being able to do all the things you love without, having disability stop you from doing those things.
Yeah.
And I think that all three of those pieces, both the cardiovascular, the strength training, and that mobility and flexibility that we talked about, as well as balance. I'm going to throw balance in there too. I think you need all three in order to maximize your health span. So how many years you have where you're able to do anything, not anything, but within reason, anything you want.
Let's talk about the menopause. So we have, younger-ish women, starting around, sort of that pre-perimenopause, age 35, sometimes medically induced. We have that, that moving into menopause, which is just really one day without your menstrual cycle. And then we have sort of post. And so we're talking about a big age range here. And is it any different if you are younger versus older in terms of the things that you would suggest somebody working on, or is it individual need based on where they're at with their health and wellness? Like I saw a member here that's like, well, shit, I haven't really been doing anything. I've been inactive for so long. Can I gain any muscle back? Now, is that dependent? I don't know how old you are, Lonnie, but would that be different whether she's, 35, 40 versus if she's 60, 70?
I think yes to a point. Yes to a point. I think that my outlook on strength training and building muscle is that, no matter what age that you are, being involved with strength training is going to make your life better. So
Yeah.
whether you're 35, whether you're 55, whether you're 75, getting involved with strength training will have an effect on your health. Will it be a little bit more difficult to simply add muscle mass a little bit later in life? Yeah, it'll be a little bit more difficult just with changes of hormones and all these different fluctuations that we go through. Typically later in life, there's a little bit less activity. I don't want to make a generalization there, but typically as we get older, we start to move a little bit more slowly and stuff.
Yeah.
But no matter what your age, you can still improve your muscle strength and gain some muscle in there. So I don't think that there's necessarily um, a change in mindset. I think that it's the important part is that you start doing it because it will have an impact no matter what your age is.
Where do we start with when
Yeah,
it
I think
comes to resistance training? Where would you start? Would you take someone who really is unfamiliar, understands the importance of rebuilding or maintaining muscle mass? Where do you start with them?
I think it comes down to figuring out exactly what you want your future life to look like, and kind of reverse engineering it in a way. I think that starting out, the important part is, going through aging, you want to have balance, you want to have mobility, you want to have the strength to do everyday activities. And so, if you know what movements are involved with your life, you can it kind of gives you a little bit more structure for when you're creating those workouts for you to do at home. Because I know I tell people, hey, you just got to work out. But what does that actually mean to somebody, or what does that look like? It can be really overwhelming for people, right?
Yes. What the fuck is everyone talking
Yeah,
about? It's so easy. Just lift more weights. What does that
that's right.
mean? What does that mean?
Exactly. And so I think that in order to actually realize and understand what that means, we need to look at what those movements that you're doing all the time are. You're standing and you're sitting all the time. You're walking upstairs all the time. You're lifting stuff up, like you said. You're lifting a bag of water from your trunk and bringing it into the house, right? And these are all incredibly important things. But when we look at just those couple of movements, well, what exercises do those look like? Well, standing and sitting, that looks like you're doing a squat. So I typically recommend that most, if not all people, have some sort of squat into their workout routine, right? Things such as going upstairs and coming back down. Well, that's very similar to doing like something like a step up in your routine, right? So, I mean, just from looking at those two movements, you've already got two exercises that you can start doing on a regular basis. And when we talk about carrying and lifting stuff, well, what's included with that? You want to have strong shoulders, you want to have strong back muscles, right? And so that's, doing stuff like pulling and that sort of thing. So I think that if you look at what movements are involved in your day and what kind of things are important to you, you can find some exercises that look similar and build off of those.
I want to answer this question on creatine because creatine has been like just yeah, Colleen's asking, what are Andrew's thoughts on
Mhm.
creatine? Creatine, one of the most studied supplements out there. Great for maintaining and building muscle, but also great for learning for brain health. There's a lot of benefits in it. But it's also been talked a lot in terms of menopause. So what are your thoughts on creatine?
Like you said, it's one of the most studied supplements that there are, along with a handful of others where we can say, hey, this has got probably positive benefits associated with it. And I think
Mhm.
that in the past we looked at creatine as just something that helps with muscle strength and muscular endurance and like stuff like that. But I think that within the last decade or so, I really like that the research and the studies have really kind of exposed a whole new side of things, which is again, with that mental piece of it, it's so
Yeah.
involved with more than just um, muscular not necessarily issues, but muscular topics or whatever. There's another word for it, but I'm blanking on it right now.
Yeah.
But so there's so many different ways that creatine is involved. And I mean, some of the old myths where, we have to cycle it, or, kidney stones and like things like that. And I mean, as far as I know, I made a video on this not long ago on my Instagram there, kind of going over some of the myths of it. But as far as we know, in people who are otherwise healthy, don't have other pre-existing conditions and stuff, it's not going to probably not going to cause you any harm, right? And when it comes to the benefits of it, in my opinion, if I were to, and I take it as well, I think that the benefits far outweigh any potential negatives from what we know from the research today.
Okay, when it comes to building muscle, do you besides creatine, making sure you're getting enough protein in your diet besides creatine, is there anything else that you suggest for your clients?
Definitely resting. I mean, resting enough, and I mean sleep. Like sleep is a big
Mm.
one. I can't overstate how important the sleep and the resting piece is, because I mean that's where we do a lot of our building the muscle, and how do you go and do a strength training routine or strength training workout when you're already feeling off because you didn't get enough sleep, right?
Well, I did not expect that response from you, but it makes sense because it's all connected. You're when you sleep is when your body repairs and rebuilds your muscles and makes them stronger and more tone. And so therefore you need that sleep piece. But sleep is so elusive for women, especially in menopause. But that's also because our stress levels are out of control.
Right.
We're eating late at night, we're scrolling on our phones, we are not getting outside in the morning and getting that light. And it's really how it all works together. So cardio, let's do your thoughts on cardio. Most effective cardio. Take a woman, she's
Um,
menopausal, she needs to build muscle. I got to get this fat from around my midsection off. I'm maybe not sleeping great, but I got to do something. Help me, Andrew. What am I doing for cardio?
I mean, same thing. I think it's hard to give a specific recommendation just because, there's so many people with like knee problems or this or that. But so
Yeah,
I would say
totally.
that, yeah, I think that's something to think about though, is, you preach it all the time. Just get out and get moving, go for a walk, whether it's 20, 30 minutes, change up your route, go at a, if you know that you're going at a certain pace, go a little bit faster one workout, add hills to your routine. So I think it's important to one, make sure that you're doing it for enough time, like you're not just going for like a walk to the kitchen to grab a snack or something like that. Like you're going out and being like purposeful with your
Intentional.
exercise.
Yeah.
Exactly, and being intentional with it, like rather
Yeah.
than just being like, you know what, I'm gonna park a little bit further away, which is great. Like I recommend that to people. I say that all the time. Hey, park a couple blocks away and walk if you're lacking time. But if you do have
Adds up.
time, yeah, exactly. And like if you do have time for it, like be intentional with it. Plan your exercise, which we talk about all the time, right? Like planning it is going to make sure that it's going to get done, right? So like being intentional with your cardio.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. We have again, it comes back to expectations where we think, okay, I'm going to start working out. I got to hit the gym 3 times a week. I got to do this. I got to get out there for an hour walk 3 times a week. I got to run. I got to get my heart rate up. When if you just start, you're
Hmm.
naturally going to build on that. If you just start with some weights and you start to feel stronger, you're going to and eventually lift heavier weights. If you just start with a walk, maybe you'll like get a spring in your step. Be like, okay, let me walk up hills. Let me start running a little bit, as opposed to just starting and signing up for a running club when you don't even enjoy running. And then I think that's where again our expectation of what we think we should be doing versus, okay, going to the gym 3 times a week, going out and, joining a running club and then doing yoga and meditation on top of that when I'm doing nothing right now.
Hmm.
Maybe, I should start with where I'm at. And if you just start, you will build on that. Where can people reach out to you? I know you have a podcast, you're on Instagram sharing posts, you have a website. What are your details?
Yeah, I mean, you can check me out on Instagram at I am Andrew Blakey. That's where I'm kind of the most responsive, and that's where I'll answer questions I get.
Yeah.
Just kind of breaking things down and helping to people to find some simplicity in working out.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that's my main place. Or if you're not on Instagram, Facebook, and it's the same stuff on both for the
Yeah.
most part.
Okay.
Mhm.
Amazing. The podcast is The Aging Great. You have not invited me on, by the way.
I
I'm feeling
want
a
to. I sent
bit
you a message
offended.
not long ago. We're gonna do it though. If you're open to it, I would love to have you on.
I'm inviting myself on. I'm
Okay,
inviting myself
good.
on. The podcast is called The Aging Grace. I mean, that's what I love about you. You look like like a young hip guy, and you have such a passion for aging and that deep understanding. It's what you're doing now that is really
Mhm.
creating your future. It's what you do in the moment that creates your future. We're
Thank you.
really grateful that you took the time and that you do have the passion for our members. That's not lost on us. So grateful for you. And thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Thanks, Andrew.
All right. Thank you.